Welcome back. We've been speaking with Jean Adero, Africa's life coach, philanthropist, library owner. I am Africa. Wears many hats, friend, sister, a lot of things. But we've just been going through just things that happen in life where we can all relate to. There are key moments in life that somehow reveal the struggles that we face in life, and then you are forced to learn a lesson. Good, bad, positive, negative, it will teach you a lesson. Mm-hmm. It's whether or not you learn that lesson and do something with that lesson.
That's true.
So now we have gone through, you've come, you've graduated, you've gotten the scholarship, and you've gotten this job. Now you're making a little moolah. You've gotten comfortable. Things are good. You can go to the movies on the weekends, hang out with friends, and then you hit a roadblock where what happens? You become...
I realize now that I was bored.
That's very hard to understand from the Jean we know right now. Like, that is just not a synonym we put against Jean. Bored you with all the things
I was bored, and I just was in the wrong seat at the job. You know, I was doing this job in marketing communications. I was a project manager. It was a great company, and I just was not challenged. I remember trying to get... I was going to become a project manager, certified. I was not a project manager who was certified. And so what I did, they offered us these classes that you could study. And I would fall asleep. And then I'd be like, no. If I'm falling asleep while I study, I'll be falling asleep on the job. Right? So I tried that. At the same time, I was looking for other things to do outside of work. And I've always had this idea that I could sell something.
Okay.
I think I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I just had never seen an entrepreneur in my family.
Your mother wasn't?
No. My mother used to sell everything.
And that wasn't entrepreneurial?
No, she would bake, and she'd sell, she'd sew, she'd make dresses, and she'd sell them to she'd make them for her friends' children, and people would buy them.
More like a hobby, just a kind of
I'm sure it brought her some money.
Something.
I don't think I looked at it for what it was.
Yeah.
And I was really good at needlework in school.
Ah, okay.
And Mrs. Odinga, Ryla's
was your teacher?
She was my class teacher.
Is she the one who's showing you needlework, or what was she doing?
She was a geography teacher.
Ah.
And I after my parents passed, I was looking through their stuff, and I found my report form. And she had written, because she was the class teacher, she had written in my report form that I should do needlework because I'm really good at it. But I wanted to do geography because it was more prestigious in my mind.
Right? Just by the way how you saw her, she carried herself, how she
Miss
taught.
Odinga was cool. Now looking back, she was our original life coach.
Oh.
Because she would come into class, and instead of teaching the class, she would talk to us about being women. And we used to get so irritated because we're like, can you just get back to the geography part?
Geography.
We would get so mad.
Where is Atlanta on the map?
On the days when she sat on the table, because she'd come and sit on her chair, and then she'd teach. But if she sat on her table, we were like, this is not a class today. But now I look back, that was the part that we needed in high school, right? I call her the original life coach. She was a great class teacher, and she was a geography teacher as well. But when I saw that she said that about me, in Form 2, we would choose subjects. I now realize that I had a gift that I left behind. And now when I look back, I tell my sisters all the time, y'all, do you know we were trained to be Martha Stewart, and we had no idea that there was a Martha Stewart?
Because you sure can bake.
I can bake, I can cook, I can decorate, I can do a whole lot of things.
And all that.
But it had no value. My sisters can sew. I'm like, I had a whole business.
I've seen Anna.
Yeah.
Anna can sew. When you're just standing there, she can sew your whole dress while you're just standing there.
My sisters can sew, and we certainly can decorate, we can cook. There's so many things that came out of it, but I had never seen it as a business. So what I did is I bought a sewing machine for $99, and I made a lot of drapes around this city.
Oh.
I made drapery because I can sew in straight lines. Remember, I only look for a way to be included. I cannot, if you ask me if it has a curve, if it has a circle, I can't do it.
You can't do it.
I could sew in straight lines. So this was the time when people had drapery panels, the straight ones with the
Yeah.
clips,
Yeah.
or they could go through the rod. I made a lot of money in this
And you had a good eye for color.
Yeah, I
and what-
do.
You have a really
I
good
do.
eye for that.
Yeah.
Did okay, obviously you bought the sewing machine, but when you learned it, it was all hand stitching. Were you using
No.
They were actually, you were,
At Kenya High School?
yeah.
Oh, no, we had sewing machines. It's quite a phenomenal school. It was always well equipped to the best of its ability.
I learned the back stitching and the
Yeah,
hand,
we
like
did make stuff like that. That was an 844 problem.
Yes. Yes.
Do you see why I'm saying they should have
That
given
and
844
pottery.
times so they could get money to buy the machines?
Right.
Because we were not going to be sewing things by hand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's my issue with that system.
Yeah.
But we had learned how to use sewing machines at Kenya High. My mom used to sew, so I already knew. By the time I went to Kenya High, I knew how to sew on a sewing machine.
Yeah.
Right?
So by the time you find the sewing machine and you realize, oh, I have this other thing in me.
Mm-hmm.
At this time, your parents had passed away?
My parents passed away. Yeah, my mom died in 2003, which was 5 years after my dad. My dad died of cancer in 1998, and then my mom was hit by a car, and she died on Oleodume Road, at the corner of Oleodume Road and Gong Road. And we lived down the street.
Wow.
It was down the street from our house. That was a traumatic thing because I remember when I went back to Kenya, the first time my sister and I went to town on a bus. My younger sister Gloria and I went to town on a bus. And when I came back, I got off at the stop where my mom got off and she was hit. And there were so many cars on Gong Road and she was about to cross. And honestly speaking, if I wasn't with Gloria, I would still be standing there right now.
Wow, you were frozen.
I froze. Like, I remember Gloria just taking my hand and crossing me across that road. Because I don't even remember how I walked. Wow. And I don't think Gloria and I have ever talked about it. Wow. But she literally, I know she's my youngest sister, she literally...
knew what to do, just like pull you.
Yeah. But I remember I was just like, wow, this is where she was hit. This is where she lay. This is where someone picked her up and took her to Kenyatta. And she died in Kenyatta overnight. It was a traumatic experience.
You were here at that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Were you able to go?
No, I missed both my mom's funeral and my dad's funeral. Right? So that's the fear. Remember, I left Kenya. I had 2 grandmothers. I had a grandfather. I had all my dad's siblings. All my mom's siblings were living. And my parents were still alive. I went back to Kenya and I had no grandparents. And I had no parents. The first day I went back, I was I was in the living room and I just sat there and my tears were just rolling. Because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to be.
Where the people who are welcoming you.
Yeah, I didn't know how to be. I didn't know how to be. And then I had a meltdown over, I couldn't charge my phone. I didn't know how to charge the phone. Because you come back with American appliances or whatever, the things, your phone. Yeah, and I remember trying to plug it in and I had this adapter and I couldn't do it. And I don't know what that was. But there's a feeling of being so useless. I couldn't go to town. There were so many things I couldn't do because that, when many people experience death of parents, they can't travel, siblings, it is unspoken, but it is the biggest deal, right? So if you look at it, when I was bored, there was also a lot of stuff going on that was underlying. And when you look at an immigrant looking okay, getting dressed for work, doing this, and you keep calling them to send you $20, you have no idea. Sometimes we just want someone to send us something, a gift. We are not the ones who... Giving is not about, I have more money. Right. Giving is about, I thought about you.
Right.
I've
heard somebody say that, whereby it's not even the fact that you needed money or I needed to send you money. It's the fact even when I send it to you, you can't even remember to say thank you or acknowledge that you received it. It's kind of almost like just do what you're doing, and I whether I got it or not, it's the acknowledgement that there's a human who is working to do all this too, even denying yourself.
Yeah.
To be able to.
My greatest moments because I like going to Kisumu.
Yeah.
Like karating is like my joint. My ancestral home is like my joint.
Yeah.
I love being there. Yeah. My favorite people in Karating are people who ask me how I am. How are you doing? And people who say, I see your grandmother in you. Like they see me and they say, oh, that's Rhoda. That means something to me. They don't ask me for anything.
And just for context, for those who might not know, I've been to Karating, and when you land there, you're almost like a little, the celebrity has come. Like, you're surrounded immediately with...
Was I surrounded?
Like, people are around and they just know Jean is around, right? Yeah. And it's kind of like, like you have arrived and being the founder, there's that, they're not like mobbing you and following everyone, but there's that sense of she's here, right? And for somebody to take time and just find how you are.
Yeah, those are my favorite people, right? I just, when you've lived in isolation around people, we're isolated around people when we live here. Because it's like you have people around you, but there's a it's not loneliness, it's your people, the people that you knew are not with you.
I actually know what you mean.
We can't explain it.
We can't explain it, but I actually know what you mean.
Right, and then they're the ones you love, and you've buried them all. That's why for me, I have been to Nairobi for a weekend. Like I get on the plane on Thursday night. I work all day Thursday. I get on the plane on Thursday night. I go to Nairobi and do the thing that I have to do. If there's a thing that only I can do in Kenya, I'm going to do it. Right? And I have come back, and on Tuesday morning, I'm sitting at my desk. And it's the funniest thing, because my coworkers would say, so, what did you do all weekend? I'd be like, I went to Nairobi. And they're like, what, like Nairobi, Kenya? And I'm like, yeah. Because there are two things that I have now that I didn't have then. Was number one, your legal status, your immigration status is now settled.
Right.
You have everything and you've gone through every hurdle and you've got it. Yeah. Number two, I can find the money to go. And I live in Atlanta. There's like 7 planes leaving here every day going to Amsterdam.
The access,
right? At a time that you wish. Yeah. Right? And Kenya Airways will take you
straight to...
I'm a KQ girl.
Yeah. Straight before you even sit and you are landing, before you get up here.
Yeah, I'm a KQ girl. People say all they want about Kenya Airways, but not me, right?
Yeah.
And then another thing is that you do certain things because you can. You miss baby showers, funerals, weddings, and you do that because you can. And because you don't know when you won't. Right? And so when you look at all that happening, it is not strange that you can be bored at a job.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like I was trying to do side gigs here, and I'd be like, I'm in marketing now. I'm going to try and provide marketing services. I called my hairdresser. I was like, let me market you. And then I didn't know what I was doing. And then I went and I started making drapery and decorating people's homes.
So if we're talking about the things you're saying where there's the key moment, the struggle, and the lesson, would you concede that the struggle in this point is that you are on autopilot?
Autopilot. That's what I'd call it.
We talk about that in Think and Grow Rich, right?
Yeah.
Like where you're just...
Like you're just there. If you were a plane, you would fly from here to Nairobi. And if you were hit by a bump, you would end up in Hawaii.
Just
because isn't that what autopilot does, right?
Yeah.
It takes, it's like you go wherever, and then if there's no turbulence, you will land where you intended to go. But if there's turbulence...
One person in one of the classes that you taught us when we were in class coaching, somebody said, have you ever had those moments where you literally get in a car from work and you don't know how you got home?
Yes, I remember that conversation.
You just
don't remember. Well, there's 2 things in that.
Okay.
It could be that you are totally absent-minded.
Yeah.
And maybe you need to get present.
Yeah.
Or your body has become an expert at going home because you drive that same route over and over again.
But to be able to just notice,
I'm in the garage.
Right. Like, did I pass by the Aldi when I came, or did I not? Or what route did I take? And some of that has to do, as you say, not being present in moments.
But I want to be excellent. I want to be on autopilot in excellence.
Yeah. I'm here for that. I am here for that. Yes. We can accomplish a lot with that. Yeah.
I want to train my body to be so excellent that it can do it naturally.
Yeah. Yeah, but you can't do it in a boredom state.
No, definitely
right.
not.
What was the lesson from that time?
Sometimes you have to wait.
You have to wait.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't know that I could have gotten out of the boredom. Because there were so many things that had happened that were emotional. Yeah.
Because you were grieving?
I was grieving. I was figuring out what to do with this comfort. I wasn't accustomed to comfort.
No.
I didn't know what to do with it.
It's okay to be in comfort.
Hustling.
But isn't that what we do?
Yeah.
Right? Or not even what we do, what we teach our children to do. You get a job at 16 and you're working from the time you're 16 to whenever. And you just don't know how to just sit and just sit.
Yeah.
It is okay.
So maybe the boredom was not bad. But the boredom got me laid off.
How did the boredom get you laid off? You stopped working.
No. I could have been fine looking for a job because America was going through some things at the time.
At the time, yeah.
And it was the greatest recession since the Great Depression.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see it coming. But then I had been at this job for so long, and I had a couple of positions in on the job. But I had been there so long, I didn't want to lose my benefits. I was like, I'm going to be laid off somewhere because of what the economy is doing. So let me get laid off with my benefits. That is the worst kind of thinking.
Because then you just settle.
Yeah, because think about it, retirement, people say, let me just stay here until I retire.
Yes.
And then here comes the new president.
People say.
And the new president decides, no, you're retiring now. And it's not even a retirement. I'm giving you options to do this now, or you'll be fired tomorrow.
Or make it enough for you to retire whether you want to or not.
Right. That's what he did.
Right.
And you've got to realize that you're more valuable seeking what you want than protecting what they gave you.
Wait. Okay, now you never remember anything you say.
I know.
You're more valuable seeking what you want
than you are protecting what they gave you. They gave you a package after layoff, but you can go and chart your course right now. Remember, after I was laid off, there were people who were still working. Why were they working? Why is it that some people are laid off and some people laid off and others remain working? All right? You can choose how your life goes. And now looking back, I think I'm making it sound like it's okay to go through all those stages as they have gone. And it is. Because life is taking you where you are deciding to go. And at some point, you'll get tired of this journey.
So I'm looking at it this way. Again, hindsight is 2020. But then when you're going through it, like you are in a frenzy. You're probably crying every day and all that. But one thing I've learned, I think, in just knowing you all these years is something Joanne used to talk about. Coach Joanne used to say, give yourself permission.
Yeah.
Give yourself permission to grieve. Give yourself permission to be bored. Give yourself permission to just sit and just, must we fix it all the time?
Not really. I think when you look back at the journey, I think everybody gets an opportunity to wake up.
Yeah.
At some point, you're going to hear the voice that says, wake up.
Like, what you doing?
What are you doing? And it'll be loud.
It'll be very loud. You can't ignore it.
You can't ignore it.
Yeah.
But you can ignore it.
Yeah.
You shouldn't ignore it, but you can.
But you see, what's interesting, before that you said, even if you were told to go home, you wouldn't have. Yeah. But now there's this voice that is yelling louder than the one you couldn't hear.
And mine had been yelling for a little bit. Because I think because of who I am, think about the girl who was always imagining something. I think I was still imagining, but I had become accustomed to habits that don't allow me to take action on that imagination. Imagination is one thing, but you have to put a foundation on that imagination so that you build it into a thing.
Wasn't that the thing that fakes without works is dead? Like you have to,
Yeah,
you have to put something behind it, right? Like you can't just believe it, but there's no.
Yeah, even though that verse is misinterpreted,
Well,
and I
course.
won't go into it right now.
It's a whole class. It's a whole chapter in the book, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the lesson out of that era, right? You were grieving. You are you are bored. Like all these things are happening at the time, and you say the lesson is wait.
The lesson is sometimes it's just like
Sometimes.
I don't have a specific. I don't regret it.
But I'm expounding on that because I feel like sometimes people come to you as a coach and they're like, you must have the answer for this.
I don't have answers for anybody.
No, but you see, that's when you're like, oh, we're going to coaches. They know they are going to give me what I am missing. And when you dig enough, when you talk to them, you realize sometimes just wait. It will unfold.
As a coach, I have a roadmap.
Yeah.
I don't have the answer. You have the answer.
Yeah.
And that's the
hard
beauty of
lesson.
my job. I don't have to know. All I have to know is the roadmap.
Because when you come to you like you're going to fix whatever is wrong. Let's say I've been laid off from my job recently, right? And I don't know where to go. And I am at an age where I'm like, like I'm over 40. And now it's like, you start again. Do you what? And it's like, Jean will tell me what to do.
And I'll tell you that 40 to 50 is the best time to start over. Because you know some things.
You know some
things, and you know some good things. Like you've raised children, you know how that goes.
Yeah.
You failed, you've succeeded, you've been married, you've had tumultuous relationships, you've had good ones, you've made money, you've lost money.
You've lost friends.
This is the best time to start something because you are wise and you have experiences.
I was just talking to Molo before we started, when you were setting up his cameras, and you were talking about how wisdom is that principal thing. Like that's what we are searching for. That's what we need to go for. That's what people are missing, because you can grow old in age, you can mature, but that doesn't mean
wisdom.
No wisdom. And that's the lesson.
Yeah.
Find the wisdom to be able to navigate.
Because if you had told me when I was laid off in 2010, I was relieved. Because finally it had come. Yes. Because remember, it was 2008, the recession, then there's 2009, and I was laid off in 2010. I remember feeling relieved. But I wasn't wise enough to know that it gets worse.
I didn't see that coming.
I didn't know it gets worse. It gets worse.
Right.
So here I am. I've been laid off before in my life, and it's not even a thing. Because number one is, for some reason, whenever I get beaten down, I wake up and I get back into the imagination mode. And I'm trying to get out of that trap. I want to just be able to imagine without getting beaten down, right? So what happened is I got laid off. Then I was like, what do I want to do? What do I really want to do? And so I took time to think about it, not knowing it was going to get worse. In the past, I'd been laid off. It would take me 2 weeks to get a job, a month to get a job. It took me 14 months.
Wow.
And I was on Obama's unemployment.
Wow.
Thank God it was Obama's unemployment.
Why do you think it took you that long?
Initially, I was like, what do I want to do? Because I wanted to go and do the thing that I really want to do.
Yeah. Because you're not in your 20s now.
No, I was in my late
now,
30s.
Like life is staring at you now. Yeah.
Yes, I want to go and do the thing that I wanted to do. And then 14 months have gone by, and I'm like, okay, I'm broke. I'm going to lose my house, right? And then I'm like, I tried to work it out, and Obama was so kind. He was benevolent with his government, and there were programs because he was handling this thing. So there was all this help, but I didn't qualify for any of it except the unemployment check, which was $300 a week.
And you were owning a mortgage at the time.
And I had a mortgage that was more than the total amount combined in a month. Right?
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm like, okay, I have to be good for something. Like something. And so I kept applying for jobs, and then you'd interview and you wouldn't get the job. And then at one point, there was this one woman who just kept calling me. And she just kept calling me. And I answered, and I went for the interview, and it just wasn't the place that I wanted to work. But it was the only job available. It was a nonprofit. They had no money. It was beat up. They had all kinds of problems. And they felt, and the lady eventually told me that the day they interviewed me, they knew they had found the person.
Okay, what was the job, and based on what would she have said?
I was going to be a trainer.
Yeah.
Get that?
Yeah.
And the reason why I wasn't
so far from your sewing, from
Right.
your
like the
project manager, whatever.
I was going to be training caregivers of individuals with disabilities.
What did you know about this?
Nothing. I knew nothing about their job.
But they knew
that I was the person. But the problem with that job is that it was paying me the same amount that I had been making when I left the Georgia lottery as an intern. My first job paid me the amount that I was going to be making at 38 years old.
And the circumstances have changed. You now own a house, you have a whole mortgage or whatever. Your expenses
I had grown lady
same.
Bills.
Yes. Your grown lady bills with peanuts in your pocket.
Bills with peanuts in my pocket.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
So you go for this job because it's the only thing
it's the only thing that comes.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, do not despise small beginnings. Do not despise small beginnings. That's what I've got to say about that. Because this is a job where I realized I was an excellent trainer. And I didn't get it at first. The only thing that I heard them say a lot is that I can't believe how many people are enrolled in your class.
So people kept signing up for your class?
People kept signing up for my
classes. What are you doing, telling stories in there?
I tell stories when I teach.
Okay.
I tell stories.
Okay. Did you come all dressed up
No.
like a professor?
No.
Just...
This was just, remember, they're caregivers.
Yeah.
So these are people who I was introduced to the working poor in America. These are the people who go to work. They take care of adults with disabilities or elderly people. They get paid peanuts, like just a little above minimum wage. They don't have the right equipment at the job. People get hurt lifting adults, moving them, helping them get dressed and all that. And sometimes they are intellectually, they have intellectual disabilities. So every now and then they get violent, you get hit on the job. Then you're on workers' compensation. Then you go and get food stamps and welfare. And then you're struggling to get your job back. And then you come back after the injury. And then you get minimum wage. And it's a cycle. God needed me to see people at their lowest. Because that was the work that he was preparing me for. And I met the working poor.
Yeah.
And I realized what was happening in the Essence magazine.
In what sense?
Most of them are black. And even now, fast forward to today, I know my mission is for African American women. Oh, I'm not leaving you African women out.
Yeah.
But there's work that I have been designed to do, and I'm good at. I am easily able to fit in both worlds.
Yes, I totally agree with that. You make each side feel as comfortable
seen.
Like they all. Yes, seen.
I help people. I'm really good at
and you can do
people.
that in your sleep. Like you don't even.
I can.
It's not. Somebody taught me this or what you.
No,
you really
this is
do.
my thing.
You really do.
Right.
Yeah.
And I had to see them at their lowest, and empathize with them, and see myself as them. Because I think in my mind at that time, I was still separated from them. I was still like, I'm the African.
Right. I'm an outsider.
I'm an outsider, right.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not the African.
Yeah.
We are literally the same woman.
The same woman.
African-American woman, African woman, Caribbean woman. We are the same woman. We have the same mother who has been afraid of something, worked hard for something. We literally have the same. The only difference is I know where my ancestors are. When I go to Karating, I can see my relatives. You don't even have to tell me. I look at them, I say, I have that nose, I have that forehead.
I recognize your people.
When you're in your ancestral home, you can see it. I have that. My African American sisters don't. My Jamaican sisters don't. Right? And that's the part that I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
But I was being prepared for that. Because I had to see the working poor.
Yeah.
I had to internalize what they were going through.
Yeah.
And help them solve it in their world. Mm-hmm. And not as an outsider, but as an insider. I am with you in this.
Yeah.
Right? And so when I left that job, I was just like, okay, I said I wanted to be in a nonprofit. No, I really want more money. So finally, I decided to go and get a corporate job again and get paid.
But what's interesting about that, you ended up forming a nonprofit. You needed that lesson to be able to know what it takes to run because you don't have money just sitting around lying, waiting to do all these things in a nonprofit, right? Like you had to learn that even your small salary, as you saw it then, it was because it was a nonprofit, which you would never have gotten if you're in corporate.
But get this. That's very important. But get this. I had a friend, I sit next to her in church, and I tell her every week, I need to work for a nonprofit. I need to work for a nonprofit. This was before I was laid off when I was bored, right? I need to work for a nonprofit. Then I was laid off, and I still used to say it, and I'd interview at nonprofits. And then one day when I got the job and I was making peanuts, she said, you are working for a nonprofit.
And of all places, confess it in a church, literally from your mouth to God's ears.
That. It was funny as heck. Now looking back, it was funny as heck.
Was it funny?
No, at the time it wasn't. I was broke.
So people came to your class, you spoke to them, you made them feel seen.
And I taught them the skills.
You taught them the skills.
And then I realized I can teach anything.
What made you leave that one? Because
someone talked to me sideways.
Oh.
Someone talked to me sideways. I was like, what are you saying? Someone actually dared me to leave. And that was, I think if you've seen on LinkedIn, I have a post that says, I once left a job. I walked out of a job. That was the job that I walked out of.
The signals.
Yeah.
That was the signal. It was time. It was time.
Yeah, it was time for me to leave. I wanted to get into a job that paid me what I was worth. So
by the time you were leaving that and you're going back to corporate, had you suffered the bankruptcy at this point?
The bankruptcy was during that period. I had to, and you see, I was in the right place now looking back because I was working with the working poor and I was the boss.
You the boss of the working, working poor, but the boss of the working poor.
Think about it. First of all, I'd walk in and there was a guy who was a receptionist and I used to tell him, did you buy a lottery ticket? And then he'd tell me about his lottery ticket, and I'd be like, I'm winning. I tell him, it's 100 million this week. I bought one ticket, and I'm winning. And I only buy one ticket. Because, I was an intern at the Georgia Lottery, so I know only one ticket wins. So I don't waste my time. I only buy one ticket. Yeah. And I used to tell him that, and it was so funny because I think he used to believe me. Because I just would be, he believed what I said. Like, there was hope. I was not... of course I want to win $300 million in a lottery after buying one. The tickets were $1 at the time.
They are now $5. They're moving up.
I heard. So, of course, who doesn't want that, right? But I wasn't looking forward to winning the lottery. Yeah. It was, for me, this hope. Like,
hanging on to
something. Just hang on to something, right? Yeah. And now when I look at it, when I wanted to leave for corporate, my season was over.
At the nonprofit?
At that job, yeah. My season was over, right?
You tell this one story where when you left the courthouse steps during your bankruptcy and you just fall apart. I think you were driving or something like that. What is that moment? Like, what is it a culmination of the years of the hustle, the grief, the bankruptcy staring in the face, and how do you come out of that to even push yourself to move forward?
Bankruptcy is terrible, but bankruptcy is necessary. The saddest part about my bankruptcy is that when the lawyer, they ask you to tabulate all the debts that you have. Yeah. And then he looked and he was like, where's the rest? And I was like, this is it.
This is it.
And the saddest part about it is that during that period when I lost my job and I was like afraid that I wouldn't be able to afford it, I used good money that could have been protected in the bankruptcy to pay bad debts that could have been discharged.
Oh.
Yeah. Seek wise counsel at all times.
I don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. And he was like, okay, we'll file bankruptcy, and it would be a period of 7 years on your record. And if I had known that many people have filed bankruptcy multiple times, I wouldn't have given it the shame that I gave it. It carried so much shame. Think about it. I came to America. I was 20 years old, 7 days. I was only 20 years for 7 days when I landed in this country. I was literally still operating as a 19-year-old. Okay? I found a way to pay my own tuition. I paid my sister's tuition, 2 of them, through USIU. I sent my mother money. When my dad died, we had land rates several $1,000s. I paid that. Those are the milestone ones that I paid. Those are things that I remember because they were big, right? And then, of course, there's all the other stuff.
Yeah, the little stuff.
And I couldn't take care of myself. I was so ashamed. I was so ashamed. Nobody knew. Not my sister, not my friends. Nobody knew for 5 years. The first time I told some people, I invited them over to my house for dinner. I told them because it had been discharged early. That was the only reason I told them. I said nothing I didn't tell anyone anything about it. That's the level of shame that I carried. And shame, if you don't speak shame, it'll kill you. But the moment you say it, it can't survive. Brene Brown says that. Shame spoken cannot survive. So whenever you feel ashamed, it's time to speak it to a safe person.
A safe person.
Don't just go telling people you're ashamed.
Mary says that a lot. Don't be
out there telling people you're ashamed.
Yeah.
But you have somebody that you can tell. Because when you speak it, it cannot survive. Right? And that was what I learned during that period.
You've gone through so many emotions. We started out with the fear, with the immigration and all that. We went to the grief. We are now at the shame part. And you almost want to ask yourself, how does one person? Or is it just you're just trying to be or to live, and you go through this and you do it the best as you can?
Yeah, we're resilient. Allow yourself to bounce back. You'll surprise yourself. Allow yourself to bounce back. But read a lot of books. I banned myself from the Barnes & Noble bookstore.
I can see it.
Let me tell you what. I banned myself from the Barnes & Noble. Then I got an iPad and the Barnes, and then it was on there. So I used to just click, buy more, buy book. It said buy book. And I had to ban myself from buying self-help books. I spent a lot of time in self-help.
Reading books.
I read books. They were mostly theory, but I got some lessons out of them.
So you leave your teaching job, because that's the nonprofit, because now you have a thing, right? And you said you went back to corporate?
I went back to corporate. I went to a phenomenal company called Cox. It was great to work there.
Cox. Did you find your thing? Like, did they put you in a place where you felt like...
Yeah.
Or did you go back to doing something?
I did. There were 2 things that happened at Cox. The first place I went into was a contract job. And the leader of that department was just like... he was just okay with everything that I did. And suddenly you realize, I'm actually all that. Right? He was okay with me, with the work that I did. He was okay with the role that I played in that job. It was a project management job as well. And I sat next to a girl who laughed every day, and I love her, Gail Walker. She just laughed all the time. I remember I was just like, she's so happy. She sat behind me, and it was so good to be around her because she was just a vibe, right? And why do I remember her like that? Because she was such a vibe, you want to be that.
You want to be
So you just find moments of joy, and then joy becomes your thing.
Find moments of joy. And you didn't feel the imposter.
No, I didn't feel any imposter. I felt like I belonged there. It was a job that I didn't have to work overtime. I didn't have to do all that. It was a good, nurturing place. And you know, you're in Atlanta, you know that Cox is a great place to work.
Yeah. They've been on those list of best companies to work for quite a while.
The family philosophy, that's where I was recognized about, the CEO recognized my Read Across Africa work. And I got the chairman's award that year, which was it was so weird. I was like, because of the library?
You said one time you walk and you see the picture, whatever, in the hall, and you're like,
I was like, it would scare me because for like a month, you know, Cox machine, for like a month every day, I just see my face on a 52-inch screen, and I'm just like, what's going on? Like I'd log into the internet, and then I'd be like, oh, there I am. Like I was everywhere. But it was a good moment because finally I was seen for who I intended.
I was seen for who I intended.
Yeah, because I knew that I had a gift and I had started living in my gift. And I was now being seen for that gift. And it feels good to be recognized, not for them to just butter you up, but they are actually saying, my goodness, you live the values of this company inside the company and outside the company. And that was amazing.
And even in that moment, there's a lesson.
Oh, yeah. It's almost like, do your thing, girl. Do your thing. Like, and even that, I remember the first time I noticed that there was an award. I saw this girl winning that award, and I said...
The same award?
Yeah, the year before, I think. And I was like, oh, I think I can do that. I think I'll win that award. I remember thinking it. But I never said it to anyone. And then my friend Kara nominated me. But I didn't even know it would end up there because the day they told me I won, I was like, I won what? They invited me to this dinner, the board of directors dinner. And when the email came to me, I was like, these people have sent it. Because, you know, my last name is Adero.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people click my name because it's the first by accident.
Oh, so
I get this message. And they say, please RSVP whether you're going to be there at the board of directors meeting. What am I going to be there for? I was like, for what? Why should I be there? Right? So I didn't respond. And then they sent it again. And I was like, they asked for a picture. Please send your photo.
What's with you and the letters coming twice?
So they sent me another letter. And I'm just like, okay, I'll just respond. So I responded. And they said, and then when I got there, I should have known something was going on because they knew me. So it's all these senior vice presidents, board of directors, and then there's me.
Who shouldn't be knowing you, right? Like
you should not know me.
Right.
Because I'm several notches down.
Right.
And then when I get in there, they had a lunch set up, and they told me to go and find my table. And then they tell me I'm on table 5. Then I said, good, I can disappear in here. Because I thought if you're on table 5, it means you can hide.
Right.
So I go around the table looking for my name, and then I get to the CEO's name, and it's his name. And then I'm like, there's one more spot. And I'm like, this can't be my table. And why is the CEO on table 5?
I thought you were sitting in the back.
I'm like, supposed to disappear. And so right after his name was mine, and I sat next to him. And that was when I got that recognition. And it was good because I was soon going to introduce myself in Nairobi. And most people had seen the Cox machine on the internet before I got there. So I never had to explain my work. It was already online.
So, you know, you and I can talk forever, but at some point we're going to have to go home.
I know.
Someone is going to kick us out of here. But there is one line that you do say that I hear you saying often, that somebody is waiting for you to live so that they can live.
Yeah. That was Lisa Nichols. She said that to me. Lisa Nichols was my coach. I followed her to Costa Rica because I knew she was the one who could help me out of the mess that I had been in. Part of the reason why I had so much confidence at Cox, because I had already coached with Lisa.
Yeah.
I was coaching with Lisa at that time. I kind of started to know I was kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that is the reason why I decided to become a coach.
Yeah.
So that, because I knew I had something that people needed. And Lisa woke me up, and she would remind me that someone is waiting for you to do this, to coach them, to start the library, so that they can live.
Yeah.
But I knew she was that for me, so I had to do it.
There's a lot of people who can give testimony to that. I mean, all the people, of course, we can line them up and they can say all that. But as we wrap up, I'm just going to put two thoughts in one, and I'm going to let you answer this as you close out.
Yeah.
One, it is International Women's Day today.
It is.
So there'll be a lot of women watching, and, I'd like you to say something. But in that, I'd like you to throw in something, because you told me about this yesterday. Something clicked and you realized you had lost your signal.
Oh, yeah. So
how do you, I'll let you say this, but how does that apply to some woman who may be watching this? Oh yeah, we're celebrating International Women's Day, but we have these moments where your signal might be lost.
Yeah. So I have come to realize that, and I don't know how this works. I failed physics. I got 19% in physics when I dropped it. So I can't.
I'm not laughing at you because we're in the same boat. So
I can't talk about physics.
Yeah.
But I know there's an energy that makes us human. It's a spirit that makes us human. It's the breath that God gave you. And I believe that there's a signal that comes with that breath, that if you stay in love, in joy, in peace, in patience, in goodness, in kindness, in faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, your signal is on. You will attract people who are that. You'll attract, you won't be qualified, but the person who interviews you will be so patient because their patient signal is on and your patient signal is on, and there's a match. And when I say that, I say it from the perspective of when I got the visa in Kenya, my signal was on because my mother didn't have money. When I got the scholarship, my signal was on. When I filed bankruptcy, my signal was off. So you can look in your life and look to see when is your signal on and off. And now ask yourself, how do I keep my signal on? That is the question that I believe I'm answering in this season. Because I'm literally coming out of a space right now where a lot of things are working, but my signal has been off on something very specific. And I remember today driving out of my garage and thinking, my signal is going to be on. And let me tell you how I know my signal is on.
Yeah.
I went to turn something on to listen on YouTube, and he was talking about on signals.
So somebody confirmed it.
Someone confirmed it for me.
Yeah.
And I don't care what religion you are. For me, I'm a Christian, and I look at it from the Bible perspective, and I'm really specific about how the Bible is interpreted.
Yeah.
I want you to understand that it was written for a certain kind of person, and now we have to figure out how to interpret it for ourselves, right? And I believe that the Holy Spirit is always speaking. The question is, will you listen?
Will you listen?
And that's the signal.
Yeah. And your signal is on when you are flowing.
When you flow.
Just know there's a flow. Nothing is missing. Nothing is
Nothing's missing. Nothing's broken.
You just know that the signal is on.
But you can be going through hardships and your signal is on. Let's not confuse this. In this world, there will be trouble.
There will be trouble.
And then what are you told? Turn on your signal. How? Yeah. But be of good cheer. That's a signal that's on. Because that's joy.
Yeah. Be of good cheer.
You can be going through a hard time, but you're in joy.
Yeah.
That's the signal.
On. So keep looking for those signals.
Keep looking for the signal. As a matter of fact, don't even look for them. Yeah. Just know that the signal is on.
Yeah. And sense when it's off.
Yes.
Yeah.
It sense when you've decided to turn it off.
To turn it off.
Because it's on.
Y'all, Jean and I can speak a whole year and never end. There's so many facets to this. And I am so grateful that you said yes. Molo and I decided to do this thing where we're going to let's go and tell these stories. Nobody's telling these stories. And you've told it so well because I think we get it from you in different places. But to actually sit and just understand who you are from where you've come from, it's going to, I know it's helped me in my life, but I know it's going to help somebody. As we close out, Happy International Women's Day. How do we get a hold of you?
Well, JeanAdero.com is the home of all things Jean.
Of all things Jean.
So you will find information on the coaching.
Yeah.
You'll find information on the community, which is the I Am Africa community. You'll find the information on the charity. And you can ask to work with me. You have to apply now.
Apply, yeah.
If
your signal is off and you want to apply to work with her, JeanAdero.com.
JeanAdero.com.
Yeah. Thank you, Jean. I really appreciate it. This has been great. It's been days in the making, but I'm glad we did this, and I hope we'll do it again because there's still more to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about.
From Molo behind the camera and myself, Diana, both of us from MD1 Media, thank you for spending the day with us. Until next time. Thank you.
Thank you.